everybody. Norwich City are back. The 2-week break is finally over, and it's a big game at Carrow Road. 12:30 kickoff against Burnley. Really looking forward to this one. And I'm delighted to be joined by Joe from the Turf Cast to look ahead of this one, a Burnley fan. So, Joe, probably the best place to start is the season so far. We just spoke about it on your channel, and we kind of mentioned that, you had a bit of a slow start to the campaign, a fair few 1-1 draws. We then came up against you guys, and since then, just one defeat, 10 wins. That would seem like you've kind of got yourselves rocking, and you seem like relatively, clear at the top of the table. So what's it been like in more recent weeks and sort of the season so far as a general rule of thumb?
Yeah, well, in recent weeks, it's just been fantastic. We're just winning every week, apart from in the FA Cup where we did draw 0-0. But apart from that, we've just been winning every single week since the turn of since after the World Cup break. We've just been brilliant. And you mentioned it there. Yeah, we started slowly, but we expected that. I probably personally expected us to start a lot slower. I thought we'd be around mid-table by around Christmas and then maybe go on a resurgence, because we lost 16 senior players in the summer. The likes of Nick Pope, James Tarkowski, Ben Mee, very, very good footballers. Ashley Westwood, Val Vegas, very, very good players who were all part of the core of the squad. Changed the manager. Just changed everything about the football club, changed the style of play, changed the entire ethos. So I thought it's going to take a while to gel this. This is going to take a while to gel. And we kept referring to like, we need a click day. That's what the fans were talking about. Like, we needed a day where it all just clicks. And there were games where it looked like it might click and it just didn't. Like, we played Blackpool at home. We went 2-0 up in the space of 11 minutes. We're like, right, this is it. We're going to batter these. And we ended up drawing 3-3. But, there were just little signs like that. A drawing against teams where we shouldn't have done. Stoke 1-1 at home stands out quite a lot, because it was like the 93rd minute that they equalised. But there were a lot of games like that. But then we just went on a run, and we've only lost twice all season. And we just went on a run, and then we did get beat by Sheffield United quite convincingly, 5-2 at Bramall Lane. But again, that just felt like a bit of a kick up the backside. It's like, right, these are our weak points. We need to make sure we work on them and get better. And that's what we've done. We've just been absolutely sensational. We haven't lost since then. We haven't been playing great in recent weeks, which has been a concern of mine. Although I did get a bit of criticism on the socials for that, because a lot of people say it's a sign of a good team if you can play rubbish and still win. But it's not maintained. It's not maintainable. Is that eventually it's gonna stop unless you start playing well. But we played very, very well against West Brom last time out in the league, and beat them only 2-1. But we deserved to win the game. So a very, very, very good season. Really, really enjoying it. Probably in terms of actual enjoyment, probably one of my favourite Burnley seasons ever in my lifetime. I know people will point to the 7th in the Premier League. It would just, obviously, I've got no criticism for Sean Dyche's legend, but the football now is much more entertaining. And I've never been bothered about that. But now I just want to win games as a Burnley fan. But now we are being entertained and winning games. It is much better. And I'm really, really enjoying this season. Enjoying it a lot.
Yeah, funny you mentioned sort of unsustainable football. That's what Norwich felt like they had under Dean Smith. It probably was going to be a 1-0 win or 2-1 victory, and then the wheels fell off. And as soon as they fell off, they came off very quickly. But so you just referenced there about sort of being one of your favourite seasons. Vincent Kompany coming in the summer. What maybe were the expectations at that point? Did you kind of think, well, this might be a slow season? Is it going to maybe be a case of seasons when we're going to kick on? And have you maybe been a little bit surprised that it's happened so quickly?
Yeah, I'm surprised that we are like 17 points clear of third, and we're just running away with it. Because let's be honest, we are going up. It's looking like very much so it's going to be us and Sheffield United. If just one of them teams, Burnley or Sheffield United, doesn't go up, it will be massive, like with the points difference as it is. But yeah, I expected a slow start, like I said, which we did get, but I expected it to be slower. We lost against Watford quite early on in the season, and I think at that point we were like 12th. It was only the third game. I think we won 1, drew 1, and lost against Watford. It was only the third game, but that's kind of what I was expecting. That form throughout the season, just not really getting going, and just hopefully it clicking towards now basically, and then going on a bit of a run. But we clicked a lot earlier in the season than I expected, and we've just been sensational. Like, going forward, we are fantastic. You've got Zarore, Benson, Nathan Teller, who doesn't even get into the team anymore. That guy is sensational. He's got one of the best first touches I've ever seen. It's just at the back we can be a little bit shaky sometimes, but we are getting better with that as well. But I just think it's different. it's not shaky. That's the wrong way of saying it. It's just because we've been used to a certain type of defence and a very solid defence over the last 9 years with Sean Dyche. Where it's a bit different now. We will play it out from the back. We will invite pressure. Obviously, the plan is to beat the press and get in behind the lines and then have an advantage in terms of numbers. So we just need to get used to that, I think, as fans a little bit more. But yeah, it's exceeded all expectations so far this season.
Yeah, you just referenced there a little bit about playing style. Has that sort of been company's sort of philosophy from the start? Has it been kind of a fixed formation that you've played all season, or has he maybe changed it up at different points depending on the opposition?
It's quite fluid as it is. Like it plays like a 4-3-3, but in possession it changes into like a 3-5-2, and then Ian Matson at left back will push on, or Josh Cullen in the centre might even come in the middle. With because Taylor Harewood-Bellis, who is injured actually at the minute, but even Jordan Bayer, they're the types of defenders that can run with the ball. They will run out from the back. They will get behind your press if possible. And then if that is the case, the likes of Cullen or Court might just slip into defence for a little bit. So it's quite a fluid formation. But the main thing is the inviting of the pressure and the pressing quite high and stuff like that. That is something that Company builds his teams around. I remember speaking to a lot of Belgian journalists in the summer when we appointed him, that there is a lot of that. And Muric came in to a bit of criticism because he's obviously not Nick Port standard. Not many people are, especially when coming for crosses. That is probably one of his weak points, although he's definitely getting better at that. But Muric was brought in as a goalkeeper because of how good he is on the ball, which is just something alien for a Burnley fan, because we're used to Nick Port coming and collecting crosses and then just throwing it out. And then when he tries to kick it out, he kicks it out like literally out of the pitch because he couldn't kick. Whereas Muric, we scored a goal down at West Brom, for example, because Muric, he had got the ball quickly, long ball upfield. Well, it's called a long pass in this situation, I believe, to Teller running onto it, who, like I just said, brought it down brilliantly. Keeper comes out, clatters in penalty, goal 1-0. And Muric can do that. I think, can't remember who it was against recently, but it might have been Middlesbrough, West Brom actually. He was playing passes out from the back with the outside of his foot, bending it round their defenders. It's just sensational stuff. So that is the philosophy. The philosophy is a lot of playing out from the back, patient build-up play. Let the players come to you. Obviously, your Pukies and stuff like that will come, and we'll just try and get in behind with some delightful passing. And then hopefully, like I said, we've got an advantage in numbers after we've beaten the press.
Yeah, you've had a fairly sustainable period of years in the Premier League under Dyche, a very British core squad. To then come down to the Championship, dominate it as well as you have. We kind of just, I actually asked you in terms of the Premier League, are you excited to go back up? With Company, is that going to be a different sort of playing style in the Premier League? And is that something that you're sort of looking forward to, or is it something you maybe fear?
It's a bit of both. I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. The one thing that used to annoy me the most about being in the Premier League as a Burnley fan with Dyche was people just never respected the job that Dyche had done because it was at Burnley. People never respected Burnley as a club because, you play horrible football. I'm enjoying having a different sort of like mentality surrounding the club when we go back up, because I think we'll go back up and we will play nice stuff, I believe. I just don't see why Company will suddenly change everything that he's done in his managerial career so far. Pep's obviously been a big influence on him. You can see the similarities between Burnley and Manchester City, obviously to a lesser extent. I'm not, for one example, saying we're as good as Man City, but you can see that the similarities in the style of play. But teams have gone up like yourselves in the past and tried to do that, and it's not always worked. Blackpool's another one that stands out all the way back in like 2010, I think that was, to be fair. But it doesn't always work, so we might have to tweak some things. But I'm more excited, other than concerned, about the style of play. My dad, for example, my dad actually started the sentence off. I'm not saying we'll win the Premier League, but I'm really excited to see what we'll do next season on the Company. I was like, of course we're not going to win it, Dad. But some Burnley fans are like really excited about that style being in the Premier League and what we can achieve doing that, because I think some people are like I said, are looking how high we can finish next season rather than thinking about beating the drop. Whereas I'm a bit more reserved, even in my just entire personality. As a man, I'm just more reserved than getting ahead of myself and stuff like that. So that's probably just my personality coming out. But yeah, I'm excited to see how he does in the Premier League with this style of play, and this core of squad obviously will add to it in the summer, I'm sure. But yeah, slightly concerned that we might just get battered every week. But I'm not sure. I think it might. I think we'll be all right. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, you just spoke about adding to your squad there. January, you've done 4 bits of business. 2 of those strikers that probably felt like an area that you maybe needed an improvement in.
Definitely.
So, yeah, what you made of those signings? Is there a general sort of excitement amongst the Burnley fans for those players, sort of their arrival? And do you think maybe those players will feature at Carrow Road on the weekend?
I'm not sure. It's an interesting point. I think the press conferences are about now, actually. So something might have come out that I haven't seen. But I think if anyone's likely to play a big role, excuse me, in this weekend of the new signings is probably Michael Obafemi, because obviously he's played in the Championship before. He's done well in the Championship before. We do need somebody else in there. I would start personally Obafemi or Foster, whichever one company wants to start. Obviously, Lau Foster's another one that came in, but he's coming from the Belgian league. He's coming from Westerlo. He's South African. He's never played in the English league before. I'd let him bed in for a bit personally. I'd start Obafemi because Jay's been quiet recently. Jay Rodriguez, like, we all love him. He's from Burnley, is Jay, so he's a local lad, and he's played for us on 2 different spells now. Done well this season. Started the season well. He's just gone a bit quiet recently. It looks like he needs a bit of a break, if I'm honest. So Obafemi and Foster coming in will either give him the kick up the backside that he needs, or give him chance to have a rest as well. So I would personally start Obafemi as part of the front three this weekend, because he can hit the ground running. He's a powerful striker. He's played in this league before, so he knows what to expect.
Yeah, it feels like those players can have sort of half the success that the players you brought in the summer that you had. You're going to be on for a good thing towards the end of the season. And of those players you maybe brought in the summer, the likes of Manuel Benson and Zarori, feel like they're probably the players that have really kicked you on this season. So who's been the star player so far this season, would you say? You referenced Teller there as well, who's maybe sort of been frozen out.
It's a tough one, that, because they've all done so well. You've got Norwich coming in who got a bit of stick recently, because as I've just mentioned, he's not Nick Port, so it's a different style. Done very well. It's just people can't get used to the way he plays. Taylor Harewood-Bellis, I'm telling you now, he will play for England. He reminds me, we had Gary Cahill on loan in the early 2000s. He reminds me a lot of that. I think he'll go on to win Champions Leagues and play for England, potentially even captain England at some point. We've got Jordan Bayer as well, who's come in from the German league. I think it was Wolfsburg. He's done very well as well. But obviously, the players that get you off your seats are always the attacking players. Not to forget Josh Cullen as well, because he's done very well, and he's like a midfield general. Starts every single week. He will start this weekend. He's very, very good at what he does. Is Josh Cullen very, very good, and he will make the step up into the Premier League, no problem, I think, for me. But yeah, Zarore, Teller, and Benson, they're the guys that have been getting you off your seat. Zarore scored a fantastic goal up at Sunderland. I think Teller's our joint leading goal scorer now, and maybe be the leading goal scorer. But he's been starting on the bench over the last few weeks. And Benson, problem is with Benson is he gets clattered a lot. He's kind of like Jack Grealish was for Villa in the Premier League, in the Championship. I'm not saying he's as skillful and stuff, but he just gets fouled every time. He gets on the ball, he runs at defenders, they just crop him. And I kind of feel like last time out, who was it? West Brom. He came on around the 70th minute, and someone just went into him like within 5 minutes, and then he's very quiet. So if there's any Norwich players watching this, just do not crop Benson, please, because it will go quiet. I think Zarori for me, my favourite player at the minute is probably Anas Zarori. Just everything about him, like, he always seems to be smiling, as does Teller, to be fair. But he just seems like he's loving life here, and of course, he kind of like captured the imagination of Burnley fans when he went to the World Cup with Morocco. Admittedly, didn't play much, but the fact that he was there and he was buzzing to be there, really good to see. And I think his social media following went from like 25,000 to like 1.3 million while they were out in the World Cup. It was just great to see. So I think for me, I think Zarori will go the highest out of all the players that we brought in. But I think Benson's probably had the better season than out of them two. And I think Teller's probably had a better season than them all. But I think Zarori is my favourite of the lot that's coming in the summer.
Yeah, certainly players that I fear for the weekend. Just sort of turning the attention slightly towards us. Have you maybe been sort of a little bit surprised that we've been as poor as we have been this season? We, much like you guys, were kind of touted when you're sort of the team that come down to naturally go straight back up. There's a bit more expectation around you. Obviously, we lost to you guys 1-0 at Turf Moor earlier in the season. So just intrigued to get your thoughts on us from that game, but also if you've seen any of us on the TV over the course of the season.
Yeah, disappointed definitely with your season. I expected you to be up there or thereabouts. I do think you'll end up probably finishing third or fourth. To be honest with you, probably potentially fourth. I think Middlesbrough might be getting a bit of a run together now, where they might end up finishing third under Carrick. I do think you'll finish in the playoffs. So I think ultimately, the first half of the season will be completely forgotten about if you finish fourth or fifth and you go up in the playoffs. It won't be something you'll be too concerned about then. But I think letting Smith go was the right decision. I'm surprised it's not worked out, because he did a good job at Villa. I think ultimately he ended up a little bit out of his depth. But he did a good job at Villa. And when you brought him in, obviously you still ended up going down, but that was expected. And I just expected that it would kick on in the Championship. But for whatever reason, maybe it was just the losing mentality was still there and he couldn't really shake that off. Maybe some players didn't respect him because of the relegation. I'm not sure. You probably know more about that side of things than me. But surprised you couldn't kick on, and surprised that he wasn't able to get you out of this slump, because I do think he's an okay manager. It'd be interesting to see what he does next. But yeah, surprised that you're not there or thereabouts. But I think come the end of the season, like I said, I think you're finishing fourth probably if I had to be put on the spot. And then the playoffs really are just a lottery, aren't they? So having said that, I'm thinking it is going to be a strong lineup in the playoffs. I think Blackburn will drop, which is, they should do because they're terrible. I think the likes of yourselves, Middlesbrough, West Brom, and probably probably Watford will be, and that's a strong line. That's probably a stronger lineup as I can remember it in the playoffs in quite a while. So yeah, I think that'll all be forgotten about come the summer when you do finish in the playoffs. And if you don't go up, as you mentioned earlier on my show, you're in a very good position next season to kick on under Wagner.
Yeah, I just wanted to get your take on whether this game maybe feels a little bit more big in the sense of you're coming up against David Wagner in his first Carrow Road Championship game for Norwich. Does that maybe add a little bit of spice to it? Do you maybe feel that that's probably... Would you rather face the Norwich team under Dean Smith is probably my question.
Yeah, definitely. I think anybody would rather face the Norwich team under Dean Smith. Like I said, you scored 8 goals in 2 games. That obviously does make us sit up and think, 8 goals in 2 games at 2 grounds where we only scored 1 goal, and we're the league leaders who scored, I think the second most goals in the country. In fact, no, I think we scored the most goals in the country actually now, because we scored a few more the other week and went ahead of City. So you've obviously done very well under him. It's probably been difficult for the likes of Coventry and Preston to know how he was going to play, because obviously Wagner had just come in. So I'm hoping that we had scouts at that game, or we're watching videos of Huddersfield from a few years ago, for example. But yeah, I think it feels bigger to you than it does to us because of the position that the two clubs are in at the minute. I am 100% confident that we will go up. I've said it on so many shows in the last few weeks. Anybody can clip them up and save them till the summer if they want, and then you'll just have to delete them because we are going to go up. But we're in a position now where if we get beat against you, it's fine. It doesn't matter. I won't be losing any sleep over it. Say if we're only 5 points clear and we lost against you and then we're only 2 points, I'll be looking on my shoulder panicking. But we're currently 17 points clear of third. If we lose against you, at most, the gap will be cut to 14 points. And at this stage of the season, 14 points. And the last time we lost at Bramall Lane, we just went on an absolutely insane winning streak. Win. So, I would definitely rather play a Norwich team on the Dean Smith. I would be a lot more confident if we were playing a Dean Smith Norwich team. But yeah, I won't be losing any sleep if we do get beat because of the healthy position that we are in.
Yeah, it feels like you've got a lot of strengths to your bow in terms of how good you've been this season. But just intrigued to know if there's any weaknesses where maybe Norwich can exploit this Saturday that might bring us a little bit of success.
I should probably say none whatsoever, shouldn't I? But no, I think corners and balls into the box. We have got better at them in recent weeks. But West Brom scored from a corner. And the game that I referenced already, the Bramall Lane 5-2 defeat, we were 2-1 up in that, actually. That might have been 2-0. I think it was 2-1. And then they just changed their style of play. They just bombarded us with long balls into the box, and we panicked and crumbled and lost 5-2. We are better than that now. We have clearly worked on it. Norwich is coming out for crosses a lot more now and collecting some. So we are definitely better at that. But I think crosses and set pieces are probably the one weakness we have at the minute.
Yeah, I think Alan Russell, our set piece coach, will be licking his lips at the idea of that. That's probably something they'll be working on at Colney this week in terms of training. Just to round off, just want to get your thoughts on the game and a score prediction, Joe. From our part, we feel quite confident going into this one, but for you guys, as you kind of just said, it's almost like just keep ticking the games over before you get promoted. So, yeah, score prediction for this one.
Yeah, I'm expecting goals. We currently have Jack Cork suspended, who is the glue that holds the midfield together, as I've said, and Taylor Harewood-Bellis, who has been probably the best defender in the Championship for me this season. And missing them too. We're missing Taylor Harewood-Bellis till March, I think, as well. So that is a bit of a concern. But we have just brought in 2 new defenders. So it's going to be interesting to see which one he plays there. But I'm sure they're both more than capable of making the step up. But with them 2 in, I'd be a lot more confident than what I am. I just can't predict us to get beat though because of how well we've done. We lost twice all season. It would be a bit of a Burnley have lost, bloody hell, if we actually get beat because that's how good we've been. So I would be more confident with them 2 in there, especially Taylor Harewood-Bellis because he was the better of the central defenders at set pieces. So it's interesting, but I'm expecting goals. You've mentioned yourself that you can be a little bit shaky at the back when we're very good at going forward. As I mentioned earlier, we are the leading goal scorers in the country, so I do think we'll score. I think you'll score as well, but I'm going for 2-2. I think it's going to be a draw.
Yeah, I said on your channel, I think Norwich will probably take a draw in this one, but yeah, my heart says 2-1. So for anyone watching the video, get your score predictions down in the comment section below, and we'll sort of look at those. Just to round off, Joe, do you want to plug your channel and where any Norwich or Burnley fans can find you guys?
Yeah, so I run the Turfcast podcast YouTube channel, podcast, of course. The podcast can be found in all the usual places, Apple, Google, Spotify, that sort of thing. Sports Social as well. And, of course, YouTube as well. We're nearly at the 2,000 subscribers mark. I know it's not a massive number, but just trying to get as many as we can to keep getting over the line and stuff like that. So if you want to give us a subscribe, please do. But, yeah, we're also on Twitter, Facebook, even TikTok as well, although TikTok is probably one that I should probably do a bit more often, so it can be a little bit dormant at times. But, yeah, just search Turfcast podcast on pretty much any social and you'll find us.
There we go. All the links will be below. You can go and find Joe. Drop him a sub on YouTube to push him to that 2K mark. Really appreciate your time, Joe. Hopefully we get a good game on Saturday. Really looking forward to this one. Certainly feels like from our part down in Norfolk that there's a lot of hype around this game. It could be the game that really propels our season or potentially derails it, although it's still early in the David Wagner era. That will round off the show. Lots of great content across our channels at the moment. Connor done an interview yesterday with Jordan Hugill. That's available across our channels. We were speaking to David Wagner very shortly. By the time this is up for you, you can probably go and watch his press conference. That will be available on our YouTube channel. All the great stuff on the Pink and Plus app as well. Chris Sutton's latest column is up. Ewan Roberts has got a column going up tomorrow as well. So lots of great stuff. We'll all be at Carrow Road on Saturday, 11:30 for team news, 12:30 kickoff. And fingers crossed Norwich City and David Wagner can keep this good run running.